ladies and gentlemen, we have breaking news as of today. Stormgate has revealed some of their gameplay with the PC gaming show. Many other video games were also shown that I care comparatively less about, and I wanted to talk with you a little bit about what we saw for Stormgate and also get your opinions on how you felt about it. We have some nice images here that they sent us for some assets to discuss. This is concept art, just kind of showing you the color contrast as one of their artistic themes that's in a lot of their work here, because many people who are on the Frost Giant team making Stormgate have direct first-hand experience in developing games like Warcraft 3 and StarCraft 2. And Stormgate is a game that's off the back of a lot of the lessons that they've learned from those video games that they've made, because those games had their own problems. They're not perfect games, and there are things that some people honestly really disliked about them and other things that they loved about them. So can they stew together the secret ingredients and the old standard trusty elements of a really solid RTS to make Stormgate an incredible video game that takes the world, I guess we can say it, by storm? We've got kind of different looks at the UI here. The UI was shown during the gameplay reveal. I got to play the game at the Frost Giant Studio in Irvine, and it handles really well. That's something that you can't really see from video. This is concept art once again. But the way that they have a lot of color in the game makes me happy as someone who's played a whole lot of StarCraft 2. One of the things that sometimes wears on me when I'm laddering day in and day out in StarCraft 2 is having a bunch of these really gritty, dark, kind of drab maps that are just desert and dirt and dust and metal and just not really too much life going on. So whenever there's a forest map or a beach map, I get very hyped, and I really like that they have a lived-in kind of living and breathing look to their game, with some of the grit and the gore as well. As you can see here, there's a bunch of blood coming out of this. Someone was probably hurt here. So if I'm someone who's an emergency responder and I'm saying, is the scene safe? It's not. This is a dangerous game, and there are going to be enemies to yourself and your allies. They're going to be bringing 1v1 RTS to the table, much in the spirit of StarCraft. They want it to be low RNG. They don't want it to be luck-based. They want it to be skill-based, and it has a lot of macro and micro potential. Here we can see some in-game assets. This is what it actually looks like in-game. Lots of really good detail of this. Just one of the main production structures of the first faction that they've shown so far. Another one of these tech buildings. Looks like a mixture of modern and then kind of throwback. You've got a little robotic arm here doing stuff. I really like the look of the game. The way that the grass and the shadows contrast the structures and units reminds me a lot of Dota 2's art style, which I really like. It's somewhere between super cartoony and super realistic. Hard to put a number on that, but it kind of seems like splitting the difference between a really gritty attempt at realism and a more visually outstanding cartoony style. This unit is one of the really awesome, iconic ones that doesn't really seem like a port of any of the StarCraft units. It's a large mech thing, but it's very different from a Thor in terms of it does have some mobility. We got to see it dash around and stuff in the Gamescom reveal, or the PC Gamer Show, whatever. And a cool thing about this too is it has an interesting firing behavior and how its gun takes some time to fully spin up and start dealing its full DPS. And then it can't turn super fast while that's active, so you do have some counterplay potential. If you're the person who is being shot at by one of these guys, you can micro around it, sort of similar to microing against lurker spines and that kind of thing. You've got the old trusty dude with gun unit here, which we all know and love. I feel like you're not really going to be able to make a game and not have something that is a range shooting unit that has some armor. There's also a little chicken here. They showed creeps, which is something that I really wanted to talk to people about after getting to test Stormgate, but NDA and just protecting their creative process and stuff, they weren't ready to show that just yet, but they did show in the gameplay reveal that there will be creep camps on the map, and you can clear them for a variety of benefits. They haven't gone into what all of those are going to be just yet, but we got some more cool building designs here. Just environment stuff here, looking very pretty. It's a mixture of the beautiful and the terrible, between the units all shooting each other and dying horribly, and then the lovely landscape that you can use to murder virtual stuff online. So we've got a melee fighting unit for the human faction here. This is breaking with the trend of Terran not having melee type units that are a low tier unit. Do they have any melee units at all? In any case, this Vanguard faction, the Human Resistance, they've got a big thing that you can thwack people with. Very sturdy, kind of armored unit, a frontliner. And then you also do have that dude with gun unit as well. I'm curious to see how this faction ends up playing out against the other two factions, and also the extent to which they go for either symmetric balance of the races or asymmetric. And what I mean by that is symmetric balance would be you give the other factions the same types of tools that they can use to fight. So maybe the other factions also have a sturdy melee, maybe they don't, and that's one of the things that distinguishes them from each other. But we'll have to see. I haven't had the chance to play anything other than this faction, but it handles really well. The keyboard and mouse to the responsiveness in the game looks really good. They do still have some things to polish when it comes to unit pathing, just the way that ground units and air forces interact. But one of the coolest things that they showed in this gameplay reveal was how trees work on the map. Trees are things that you can interact with either by sending smaller units through the trees, or you can use like these larger units to knock the trees over with an ability or with fire. So they're taking many of the core ingredients of RTS that have worked in the past for Warcraft 3 and StarCraft 2. And one of the most important design choices that they're making is the lethality of units being between StarCraft and Warcraft 3. Warcraft 3, a grunt and a footman just slap each other for half an hour before someone dies. And then in StarCraft 2, 2 Widowmine shots blow up your whole army. So they're trying to basically find a midpoint between those two things where you feel like you're rewarded for having high DPS units, but you're also not overly punished for not looking at everything all the time. So I have a lot of hope for Stormgate to kick some major ass. This is pre-alpha stuff, alpha kind of content, so much of this is a work in progress, and they may or may not keep in or remove certain things that we've seen so far. And one thing that Twitch chat was pointing out while we were looking at this reveal in the PC game show was StarCraft 2 alpha footage looked pretty scuffed compared to what StarCraft looks like today. So remember, be patient with developers as they're going through their process of refining and polishing a game. It's a really hard process to know when you can show stuff and how much of your work you want to show, because honestly, people are very critical and very keen to give feedback, and they're open to feedback. I got to talk with them quite a bit, and they do want to know what the community wants. So maybe there's something about this that you're really skeptical about. Maybe you're worried about something. You can let them know. You can tweet at them. They're very active on social media, and they have a Discord server as well. So I'm very hyped for Stormgate. Things are looking to be very on track. The team is working very hard. I know my review of Stormgate so far was extremely positive, and there was a little bit of backlash of like, Neuro, where's your cold-hardened, jaded cynicism about this? Isn't it just like doomed to fail because it's so hard to beat StarCraft 2? I would say give people a shot. Let's see what they can bring to the table. What I've seen so far looks amazing. I'm very hyped to try out this when it goes into whatever beta phases that I am able to play in. But the other factions are yet to be fleshed out and like revealed to us. So we'll see what they've got. But with the focus on having really strong 1v1 combat, and then also a very fleshed out 3v3 mode, and then a bunch of other content that you can do versus AI for both campaign and co-op type stuff, I think they have a lot of good stuff going for them. So keep an eye on Stormgate. You can go to playstormgate.com and sign up for their beta. And then wishlisting their game on Steam is probably the biggest thing you can do as the end user to boost their growth. So the more you wishlist the game, the more visibility they get on the Steam platform, which means more people are just going to see it, talk about it, and then eventually give it a chance and play it. So let me know what you think of the gameplay reveal in the PC Game Show. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Do you have mixed feelings? Let me know. I'm super hyped about Stormgate, and I will see you doing more stuff with Stormgate in the near future. Let's go!